Okay, so next up in our video lesson series on Kurt Rosenwinkel's Star of Jupiter, we have the second track, Welcome Home. Not going to talk about the rhythm too much. Again, it's mostly a harmonic study that we're doing, but I'll talk about it for a second. Pickup bar of 4/4, then alternating bars of 4 and 5, maybe 9/4. I don't know how it's written, but that's how I would think about it. So we're in the key of D flat major. We start on the 5 chord, play an F7, going to a B flat minor, secondary dominant, going to the 6 minor, pretty common. If that doesn't make sense to you, or if anything in this video doesn't make sense, shoot me an email and we can do a Skype lesson and go into this more in depth. But it's meant to be an in-depth analysis, so I'm gonna go through some of the more basic stuff pretty quickly. Pretty simple there. We have a C over D flat to an E flat minor 9 to an A flat sus7. So 1 diminished to a 2 to an A flat sus7. Again, I talked about this chord in the first video, the overview, so watch that if that doesn't make sense to you. There's also, when we go from C over D flat to E flat minor 9, you can think of there being a D flat triad on top of the E flat minor 9, so that's sort of how that movement works. But that entire thing sounds like... So then after that, we are doing A flat minor 7 to a C minor 7 flat 6. Sounds more complicated than it is. Really what it is sort of a deceptive movement. So right here, in the previous bar, we're on the 5 chord, A flat 7. Then we go to an A flat minor 7. That kind of sounds like it's going to be a 2/5 to the 4, so like a to G flat major 7, except he doesn't do the 2/5, he just plays the A flat minor 7, and then goes back to an A flat 7, a 5 dominant sound. Doesn't play the 5 dominant exactly though, he plays an upper structure of it, which is C minor 7 flat 6. And as you can see, the C minor 7 flat 6, as you can hear, has the same quality as an A flat 7. It's just different note selection. I'm voicing that C, B flat, E flat, A flat. So right there what I just did, I took that shape, moved it down a whole step. That's all diatonic. It's all found within the D flat major key. And then when I went down a whole step on the last hits, section of that hits, I took off the B flat on the bottom, meaning, just for clarity, that's voiced B flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, same thing, but just a half step or a whole step down. Take off the B flat on the bottom and put in an open string, an E. I think that's how he got that when he was composing it. He was probably doing those hits and probably hit like an open string in there. But for harmonic purposes, there's a reason that it actually works really well. That chord right there, by the way, is an E6, that chord we're playing. The reason is, well, there's a few reasons. Like we talked about in the first video, it's a flat 3 major 7, so it's being borrowed from a minor chord. Again, watch the overview. I talk about some common things that are done throughout all these songs, and that's one of them, the flat 3 major 7. The reason we can borrow from a minor key there is we've already set up the minor sound with the E natural and this 1 diminished chord back here. So when it comes time to play it here, it doesn't sound that foreign to our ears. Then the E6 resolves to a B flat minor 7. I think the melody goes. So that's a cool movement right there. The melody is basically a harmonic anticipation of this resolution to B flat minor 11. But the E6 going to that B flat minor 11, what that basically is, E6 is an inversion of C sharp minor 7. So it's really C sharp minor 7 going to B flat minor 7. Pretty effective considering a lot of the harmony here we're dealing with is diminished, and it makes sense to move a diminished modulation in minor third, so it's a nice way of getting back into the key there. Continuing on with more diminished chords, we have G flat over E and E flat over D flat. So those are the hits right there. And I'm voicing that like D flat, B flat, E flat, G. So the way that works is actually right out of the diminished scale. It sounds like it's a major 7 sharp 11 chord, but it's really just picking out notes from the diminished scale to give it the illusion of that sound. Then moving on to the B section. In that section, in case it's throwing you off, I think it's in 4/4 there, so that's how you count that part. Still in 4/4 in the B section. We start out with the E flat over D flat chord, then we do D flat minor 9, D minor 9, D flat over D, E sus7. The way that works is the upper structures of all those chords I just listed are B, C, D flat, D. So it kind of makes sense, it's just rising triads. That's what I think the theory going on there is. From the E7 sus, we go to a temporary new key, an A6. We then make that an A minor 6, again, because we just modulated keys, so we can do things like that. It's not like this has been super established for that long, that it's definitely the key, so we can hear that it might go somewhere else. Then the A minor 6 goes to a D flat 7 sharp 9. So that's a pretty cool movement right there. This is another thing that's going to pop up in a few of these songs. Something that I noticed Kurt Rosenwinkel does in his compositions is he will play sidestepping 2/5s, meaning like, right, that's a pretty common bebop thing, but he'll leave out the 2 in one, and then he'll like leave out the 5 in the other one. And it's pretty cool because, you know, the 2 and the 5 are the same thing for harmonic purposes, really. Like, you know, if you watch Barry Harris and you listen to some of his things, he'll talk about how he likes to think of the 2 chord and the 5 chord as the same. So he only thinks about soloing on a 2/5, just soloing over the 5. So it makes sense that you can do that. It's just a cool sound because it's not something you expect. And then when you see it on paper, it's kind of confusing. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's thinking with those kind of movements. So it's really just crammed into those 2 bars. Then we have an E7 sus, which we did already there. So back to a blurry harmonic, you know, kind of sound, so we're not sure where it's going to go. We do a common tone modulation. You know, E minor 9 and E7 sus already share like almost all the same notes. We're just specifying the 3rd now, which is minor. And then resolution a whole step down to D major. Share obviously same key as E minor 9. And then we play the D flat 7 sharp 9 chord again. Kind of a chromatic walk down almost, but really you can think of that last chord 2 ways. I mean, we already played it here, so it's a pretty familiar sound. And then the other thing is it's almost like a 1 back in the key we were in before, because we already kind of had that bluesy thing going on. And from there, it takes us back to the top of the song. So if you have any more questions, feel free to email me and we can set up a Skype lesson. I'll do the next part and post that soon.